Welcome to our channel. Today we are going to study a part of biology known as DNA. We are going to study this part with questions and answers for a better understanding. The first question we have here says, a biomolecule that carries genetic instructions for the growth, development and reproduction in an organism is best described as dash. A. Chorion. B. Amnion. C. DNA. D. Placenta. In this question, the correct answer is C. DNA. So DNA is a molecule that carries genetic instructions for the growth, development and reproduction in an organism. The full meaning of this DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Research have shown that this DNA contains the genes of an organism that move from generation to generation. The next question says, the building blocks of DNA are called dash. A. Nucleotides. B. Bilirubin. C. Biliverdin. D. None of the above. In this question, the correct answer is A. Nucleotides. These nucleotides are molecules from which DNA are synthesized. So these nucleotides are the smaller molecules that are used for making DNA by the body system. So the nucleotides serve as the building blocks of DNA because these nucleotides are the structures, they are the molecules from which DNA is synthesized in the body system through the help of some enzymes. The next question says, which of the following is true about nucleotides? A. They contain phosphate group. B. They contain nitrogenous base. C. They contain deoxyribose. D. All of the above. In this question, the correct answer is D. All of the above. Research have shown that these small molecules of DNA known as nucleotides contain phosphate group. They also contain nitrogenous base, and they contain a sugar or a carbohydrate known as deoxyribose. All these things make up the nucleotides of a DNA molecule. The next question says, the monometric units of DNA are called dash. A. Deoxyribonucleotides. B. Lipids. C. Proteins. D. None of the above. In this question, the correct answer is A. Deoxyribonucleotides. The deoxyribonucleotides are the molecules and they are called the monometric units of DNA because they are small molecules which represents the main thing from which DNA is made. So these nucleotides that help in building DNA, or the nucleotides from which DNA are synthesized directly, are called deoxyribonucleotides. So they serve as the monometric units. Monomers are small molecules that are used in forming giant molecules. So the process whereby monomers are used to form a big molecule called polymer is called polymerization. So the process of synthesis of DNA involve the use of these smaller molecules known as the deoxyribonucleotides in building a giant molecule called DNA in the body system of an organism. The next question says, the following are nitrogenous base components of DNA except dash: A. Guanine, B. Adenine, C. Thymine, D. Uracil. In this question, the correct answer is D. Uracil. Uracil is not a component of DNA. Research have shown that the nitrogenous base or the complementary base pairing or base pairs of DNA are guanine, adenine, thymine, and cytosine. So research have shown that adenine pairs with thymine, while guanine pairs with cytosine, but there is no uracil in a DNA molecule. Uracil is found in another molecule called ribonucleic acid, but in a DNA molecule there is no uracil in any parts. The next question says, the following organisms store DNA in their cytoplasm except dash: A. Salmonella, B. Staphylococcus, C. Streptococcus, D. Amoeba. In this question, the correct answer is D. Amoeba. There are organisms called prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are those organisms that don't have nuclei or well-defined nuclei in their cells. And examples of these prokaryotes are bacteria. So research have shown that bacteria also have genetic material known as DNA, but because they don't have well-defined nuclei, their DNA are scattered within the cytoplasm. So the Salmonella is an example of a bacterium. Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, all these things are bacteria, and all bacteria store DNA in their cytoplasm. Not only bacteria, all prokaryotes store their DNA in their cytoplasm, but amoeba is a eukaryotic organism because it has a well-defined nucleus in its cell. The next question says, the phosphate group of DNA is responsible for its dash nature: A. Acidic nature, B. Alkaline nature, C. All of the above, D. None of the above. In this question, the correct answer is A. Acidic nature. So research have shown that the phosphate groups of DNA is responsible for the acidic nature of that chemical compound called DNA. So when if anything goes wrong in this phosphate group of DNA, the acidic nature of the DNA will be affected. The next question says, the sequence of 3 nucleotides that codes for a specific amino acid in a protein is called dash: A. Codon, B. Hormone, C. Saliva, D. Amnion. In this question, the correct answer is A. Codon. This codon is the sequence of 3 nucleotides that codes for a specific amino acid in a protein molecule. The next question says, the first level of DNA organization in a eukaryotic cell is maintained by molecules called dash: A. Histones, B. Bilirubin, C. Melanin. D. Cytoplasm. In this question, the correct answer is A. Histones. Histones are proteins that helps DNA to pack very well in the nucleus of a cell. Eukaryotic cell is a cell that has a well-defined nucleus. So research have shown that this DNA wound around this protein known as histones, and these histones help this DNA and package them very well in the nucleus. The DNA, the length of this DNA accommodates in the nucleus because these histones play a great role in packaging this DNA in the nucleus. So the first level of DNA organization in every eukaryotic cell is maintained by this molecule called histones, in the sense that they play a great role in packaging them, or in packaging DNA in a cell nucleus. The next question says, Chargaff's rule states that in a DNA, the percentage of adenine equals the percentage of thymine, and also the percentage of guanine equals the percentage of dash. A. Cytosine. B. Uracil. C. Histone. D. Amino acid. In this question, the correct answer is A. Cytosine. There is a scientist called Chargaff. This Chargaff is one of the great researchers in the world of science. So the rule that this man has states that in a DNA molecule, the percentage of adenine will be equal to the percentage of thymine, and the percentage of guanine will be equal to the percentage of cytosine. Because in a DNA molecule, there is what we call the complementary base. So in a DNA molecule, adenine pairs with thymine, while guanine pairs with cytosine. So this man made it clear in his rule, or in his principle, that in a DNA, for a DNA to be complete, the amount of adenine, or the adenine, will be equal to the thymine content, and the guanine content of that DNA will also be equal to cytosine. So if anything goes wrong in this balance, it means that the DNA is having a particular problem. So this rule is one of the things that helps other scientists to know more about the contents of DNA. The next question says, if the DNA of an organism is analyzed and it was found that it contains 30% of adenine, the percentage of cytosine in the DNA is dash. A. 35%. B. 20%. C. 27%. D. 30%. In this question, the correct answer is B. 20%. So if the DNA of an organism is analyzed and it was found that it contains 30% of adenine, what it means is that that DNA also contains 30% of thymine, because thymine pairs with adenine. So in this situation, the thymine and adenine have taken 60% of the DNA. So the remaining 40% will now be taken by cytosine and guanine. So in this situation, that's the adenine have taken 30%. It means that thymine is also 30% to obey the rule that we just said now. So the percentage of cytosine in this situation will be 20 and the percentage of guanine will be 20, making everything 100%. The next question says, which of the following is not found in DNA double helix? A. Uracil. B. Antiparallel configuration. C. Complementary base pairing. D. Major and minor groups. In this question, the correct answer is A. Uracil. So research have shown that in a DNA double helix, there is antiparallel configuration, there is complementary base pairing, and there is also what we call major and minor groups. But there is nothing like uracil in a DNA double helix. The next question says, which of the following does primase produce? A. DNA primer. B. RNA primer. C. Hair. D. None of the above. In this question, the correct answer is B. RNA primer. Research have shown that primase is an enzyme that helps to start DNA synthesis in the body system. So DNA synthesis is mainly coordinated by another enzyme which is different from this primase. But this primase begins the synthesis of DNA from the scratch by producing what we call RNA primer, which plays a great role in DNA synthesis. So this enzyme known as primase produces what we call RNA primer that is useful in the area of DNA synthesis. The next question says, the process whereby DNA polymerase removes incorrectly incorporated nucleotides and replace them with the correct ones is called dash. A. DNA proofreading. B. Osmosis. C. Hemolysis. D. Monomers. In this question, the correct answer is A. DNA proofreading. DNA proofreading is the process whereby an enzyme known as DNA polymerase removes incorrectly incorporated nucleotides and replace them with the correct ones. Research have shown that this enzyme can edit all the nucleotides that are being added in DNA, but this process usually occurs during what we call DNA replication. Replication is the process whereby DNA makes exact copy of itself. So this enzyme known as DNA polymerase plays a great role in the synthesis of DNA by also removing incorrectly incorporated nucleotides and replacing them with the correct ones. If this enzyme known as DNA polymerase fail to do this DNA proofreading, there will be some issues in the body system. There can be some diseases such as cancer in the body system of a human being. So DNA proofreading is very important in ensuring that the body produces a good DNA that will help in the growth, in cell division, and many other processes that take place in the body system of an organism. If this is the first time you are watching our video, if this is the first time you are joining this channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you will study other topics that we have treated in many of our videos. You can also make your comments in this video.